My name's Deborah Hedlund, and I'm running for the Minnesota Supreme Court, seat number 4. Right now, I'm a sitting judge in Hennepin County that handles 1/2 of all the civil and criminal cases in Minnesota. But as I go around Minnesota talking about the issues that are important in the court, I hear lots of complaints from citizens, and I want to try and answer those questions and address them. With me today is Lois Sonstegard, who is a person who has had contact with the court system, but I don't think has a very good opinion of it. And so I want to let her ask questions and address her concerns and see if we can come up with solutions together.
Well, as I said to you, Debbie, earlier, when we were talking, when I get into the ballot box and I'm looking at who to vote for judges, first of all, most of us don't know much about who's running or what their concerns or issues are. And secondly, I find that my experience with the legal system has been so negative, I generally vote against anybody who's already been there. So that tells you a bias. And the reason why I feel that way is I think that when you enter, my experience has been that when you enter, you become victimized by the system. There isn't a way of going through it and feeling whole. And it seems to me there's something wrong about that. And with that comes a sense that you really can't solve an issue. You know, it's simply winning or losing. There isn't a desire to really sort through and solve a problem.
Well, I've heard that before, and I've been concerned about that for more than 30 years. I've been an attorney oral judge for 38 years, and I think really what we need to do in the courts is help people resolve their differences the way they want them resolved and not the way that's easiest for us. But part of what happens is it's so expensive to go out and get lawyers and sue a case out. And I often say to parties in civil transactions, unless you have more than $25,000 at stake, you can't afford to be in district court. Now you can bring a conciliation court claim for up to $7,500, but many of these controversies involve more than $7,500. And so it's very expensive. And if you don't like the result in the trial court, it costs you another $25,000 just to file the appeal. So what can we do about that? Well, the first thing we can do is we've pioneered some services for people who represent themselves. We call them pro se people because in Latin that's representing yourself. And we have kiosks and staff dedicated in Hennepin County to help those people so they don't have to hire lawyers for smaller amounts or even for large amounts. It doesn't have any amount limit on it. Particularly in family court, it helps folks sort out their differences and know what their rights are without hiring a lawyer. What else can we do? Well, we can use the judges as mediators instead of forcing them to go other places to find that. And we really, as judges, need to engage you in asking you what you want to get out of the process. Because without listening to you, often lawyers, they're great and they try to do their best, but if you don't tell them what you really want to accomplish, they don't have a chance to tell you whether that's possible or not. But I think what we can do is take the model that we've pioneered with some grants that Hennepin County's been given, and we can duplicate that around the state, and that's one of the things that I would try to do if I were a Minnesota Supreme Court Justice, is increase the pro se services so that you at least have a chance to represent yourself and you feel like you accomplished what you set out to accomplish instead of being victimized again.
I think the money is part of it. It's the emotional victimization that is the most disconcerting.
Well, and we hear that as well, and we know that that's a real problem in family court cases where children are involved. The most important thing to people is not money. It's the fact that there are real lives that are being ripped apart, and what can we do to help those families heal? Often they don't feel like they can live together anymore, but we in Hennepin have been pioneering a program that's called Early Case Management, Initial Case Management Program. What does that mean? It means that the first day you file a lawsuit, whether you're represented or not, a judge is assigned to it, and that person brings you in to talk about those problems before they fester for a year or two, which was the old plan. We need to help outstate Minnesota institute some of those programs, even though they're less populous than Hennepin. Now, it doesn't make everybody feel wonderful about what they're going through. There's almost no way to feel good when a marriage is broken or children are involved. Everybody feels like a failure. But there are ways to save money and not further victimize those people, and particularly the children.
So let me understand this. As a judge, you can actually impact the system?
I think so. I think that particularly from the Supreme Court, we set the policy if we're on the Supreme Court for the entire state. We decide what the rules are for how cases proceed. We're not talking about the laws that the legislature make. We're talking about the procedure within court, and that is something that is set from the top down from the Supreme Court. So I think it's important that trial judges that have met real people like you, who have expressed their frustration, be on the Supreme Court. We have a lot of very bright people up there, but they aren't, any of them, ones that have dealt as trial judges with these frustrations of folks in family court, in juvenile court, in probate and mental health. And so we need to take some of those concerns to the top so we can impact the system from the top down.
Wow, thanks.